Minjun's hand trembled as he signed the check. $25,000. The pen hovered over the paper for just a second too long before he forced his signature across the line. Across the polished conference table in his Seoul high-rise office, Zara Williams sat perfectly still, her dark eyes fixed on that check like it was the only thing in the world that mattered. Because right now it was. 2 weeks, Minjun said in perfect English, sliding the check across the glass surface. His Korean accent was barely noticeable after years of international business school. Public appearances. Investor dinners. Charity galas. You smile, you nod, you make me look like I've found my conscience. Zara's fingers closed around the check, but she didn't look at it. She looked at him instead, and something in her gaze made Minjun shift uncomfortably in his expensive Italian suit. He'd bought companies, dismantled corporations, made decisions that affected thousands with a single signature. But this woman with her natural curls pulled back and exhaustion etched into her beautiful face made him feel like he was the one being evaluated. I understand what this is, Zara said quietly, her voice carrying the slight southern lilt of her Atlanta upbringing. You destroyed Hanyang Medical. Hundreds of jobs gone. Families ruined. And now you need someone with actual credibility to stand next to you and convince the world you've changed. Bonus points because I'm Black and American, right? Shows you're global and diverse. Minjun's jaw tightened. The truth of her words stung. I prefer restructuring consultant. I prefer honesty. Zara folded the check carefully and tucked it into her bag. So let's be honest. You're not reformed. You're rebranding. And I'm the diversity hire for your image rehabilitation tour. The words should have angered him. Instead, Minjun found himself almost smiling. Almost. If you despise me so much, why are you here? Zara's composure cracked for just a second. Her hand went to her bag where the check was, and when she spoke again, her voice was raw. My little sister needs experimental treatment. There's a medical trial in Germany that could help her condition. Insurance won't cover international treatment. My savings aren't enough. So yes, I'm here. I'm selling my integrity for $25,000 because that's what it costs to give my sister a chance at life. Silence filled the conference room. Outside, Seoul stretched beneath them, the Han River glittering in the afternoon sun, indifferent and beautiful. But I have conditions, Zara continued, and now her voice was steel wrapped in velvet. Every event we attend, you listen to one patient story. Real people affected by companies like yours. You want me to humanize you for your investors? Then remember what being human actually costs. Minjun studied her. He'd expected desperation. Maybe resentment. Not this fierce pride that somehow made her look more powerful than him despite everything. In Korean business culture, directness like hers was unusual, almost shocking. He found it fascinating. And if I refuse? Minjun asked. Then keep your check. Zara stood, her height impressive even without heels. I'll find another way. I always do. She was halfway to the door when Minjun spoke in Korean, then quickly translated. Deal. I promise. Zara turned back, surprise flickering across her face. One patient story per event, Minjun said. Starting tomorrow night. Charity gala at the Shilla Hotel. I'll send a car for you at 6. I'll take the subway. The dress code is formal hanbok or evening gown. Then I'll wear my dress on the subway. Zara opened the door but paused. And Minjun? Don't expect me to lie for you. I'll play your reformed humanitarian for the cameras, but I won't pretend you're something you're not. People are smarter than you think. Especially people who look like me. We've had to be. The door closed behind her, and Minjun was alone with the city lights and the uncomfortable feeling that he'd just agreed to something far more complicated than a simple business arrangement. His assistant entered moments later. Is everything all right? She asked in Korean. Minjun stared at the door where Zara had been. I think I just met someone who isn't afraid of me. That's good, isn't it? I don't know yet, Minjun admitted. The charity gala at the Shilla Hotel was everything Minjun expected and everything Zara clearly wasn't prepared for. He watched her arrive, and despite himself, he was impressed. She'd chosen a stunning dress that honored both culture Euro, a modern evening gown in deep purple with subtle hanbok-inspired elements in the sleeves. Her natural hair was styled in elegant braids woven into an updo. She looked uncomfortable but determined, like a warrior heading into battle. Several guests stared. Seoul's high society wasn't used to seeing black women at these events, and Zara carried their gazes with quiet dignity that made Minjun's chest tighten with something he couldn't name. "You look beautiful," Minjun said as she approached, speaking in English. His mother had taught him to always make guests feel comfortable. "You look predictable," Zara replied, but her lips twitched slightly. "Let me guess. Tom Ford suit. Rolex watch. Hair styled exactly like every other chancelier in this room." "Accurate." Minjun offered his arm. "Ready to make me look reformed?" "Ready to make you look human." "There's a difference." The next hour was a careful dance. Minjun introduced Zara to donors, investors, board members. She was better at this than he'd anticipated, warm and engaging without being fake. She asked questions in her limited Korean, laughed at herself when she mispronounced words, and somehow made even the stuffiest investors relax. But every time someone asked how they met, Minjun tensed, waiting for her to stick to the script they'd discussed. She never did. "We met through a mutual friend." Minjun would start in Korean, with Zara translating. "His PR team hired me." Zara would interrupt smoothly in English, which many understood. "I teach English at a Seoul community center and volunteer at a women's shelter. Apparently, I make good optics for someone trying to rehab their image after destroying a medical company." The first time it happened, Minjun nearly choked on his champagne. An investor laughed uncomfortably and excused himself. The second time, Minjun pulled Zara aside, switching to English for privacy. "What are you doing?" he hissed. "Being honest. You hired me to make you look better. Lies make you look fake. The truth makes you look like someone who might actually be capable of change. You're going off script." "There was a script?" Zara's eyebrows rose. "You wanted me to humanize you, Minjun. Humans tell the truth. Or did they not teach you that at whatever fancy business school you attended?" Before Minjun could respond, an older Korean man approached. Park Sang-woo, late 60s, former executive at Hanyang Medical. Minjun recognized him immediately and felt his stomach drop. "Minjun SSI," Park said in Korean, his voice cold. The formal address was deliberate, creating distance. "I worked at Hanyang Medical. Before you optimized us into bankruptcy." The conversations around them died. People turned to watch. Zara stood straighter, though she couldn't understand all the Korean words. She understood the tone perfectly. "Park Sejangnim," Minjun replied carefully, using the respectful term for a senior executive. "I was hoping we could avoid a euro." "Avoid what?" Park switched to English, his anger making him want Zara to understand too. "Talking about the 200 people who lost their jobs? Including my daughter? She was a research coordinator. 10 years with the company. 2 children. You know what your efficiency report called her division? Redundant operational overhead." Minjun had prepared responses for moments like this. Carefully crafted explanations about market forces and fiduciary responsibility. But standing there with Park's pain radiating between them and Zara watching with those dark, evaluating eyes, the words felt obscene. Zara stepped forward before Minjun could speak, addressing Park in careful, accented Korean first, then switching to English. "Park Sejangnim, my name is Zara Williams. I want you to know that Minjun is paying me $25,000 to stand here tonight and make him look reformed." Her voice was clear, carrying to the watching crowd. "I don't have to like what he did to your daughter or to Hanyang Medical. But I need the money for my sister's medical treatment. So I'm here and I'm being honest about it." She turned to Park fully, meeting his eyes with respect. "I'm sorry about your daughter. I hope she found something better. I hope she's okay. What happened wasn't right." Park's anger seemed to deflate slightly. He looked at Zara for a long moment, taking in her natural hair, her foreign features, her obvious courage. Then he looked back at Minjun and spoke in Korean. "At least she's honest. That's more than you've ever been. And she has more courage than any of us. Do you know how hard it is to be different in Seoul? To stand out? Yet here she is, telling the truth while we all pretend. He switched back to English for Zara's benefit. Miss Williams, you are too good for this man. But perhaps you can teach him something we could not. He walked away. The watching crowd slowly resumed their conversations, but the damage was done. Minjun could feel the shift in the room, the whispers. His reputation, already damaged, now felt more complicated. In the parking garage afterward, Minjun's carefully maintained control finally cracked. You made me look worse. He slammed his hand against his Mercedes. That was a disaster. That was reality. Zara's voice was calm, which only made him angrier. You think people want to see a carefully scripted redemption? They want to see someone who actually admits they screwed up. I don't pay you to think, Euro. You pay me to make you look good. Zara stepped closer, and despite being several inches shorter, she somehow seemed taller. Lying makes you look fake. The truth makes you look like someone who might actually be capable of change. But maybe that's not what you want. Maybe you just want the appearance of change without any of the work. Minjun's phone buzzed. A text from his PR director in both Korean and English. Investor feedback surprisingly positive. Authenticity angle working. Western woman's directness reads as refreshing honesty. Continue current strategy. He stared at the message, then at Zara. She was watching him with that same evaluating look, waiting to see what kind of man he actually was. First patient story, Minjun said finally, switching to English. Tomorrow. There's a free clinic in Itaewon. International district. Many immigrants. What time? You're serious? E superscript 1I, degree I section Euro. Of course. Minjun met her eyes. You think I'm not? Zara studied him for another long moment, then nodded. 10 a.m. Don't be late. And don't wear that suit. You'll stand out even more than usual. I'm Korean in Korea. How would I stand out? Rich Korean in a poor neighborhood. Trust me, you'll stand out. Zara's expression softened slightly. See you tomorrow, Minjun. She walked away toward the subway entrance, and Minjun stood in the parking garage wondering what exactly he'd gotten himself into. This was supposed to be simple. A transaction. 2 weeks of appearances in exchange for money and improved public image. So why did it suddenly feel like something far more complicated? The Itaewon clinic at 10 in the morning was organized chaos. Minjun arrived in jeans and a casual button-down shirt, the most casual he'd dressed in years, and still felt absurdly out of place. The waiting room was packed with people from all over the world: Euro, Southeast Asian workers, African students, Middle Eastern refugees, all waiting for free medical care. Zara appeared from behind a set of doors, wearing jeans and a volunteer shirt, looking more at home here than she ever had at the gala. Her hair was in a high ponytail, no makeup, completely natural. She was beautiful. You came, she said, surprise evident in her voice. I said I would. Rich people say a lot of things. But she was almost smiling. Come on. There's someone I want you to meet. They walked through the clinic, and Minjun tried not to stare. He'd grown up wealthy in Seoul, attending international schools, living in Gangnam. This Korea Euro, poor, struggling, Diversia Euro, was foreign to him despite being his own country. The human cost of the systems he'd spent years optimizing. A small exam room held a woman in her early 40s, dark-skinned, wearing a restaurant worker's uniform, holding a young boy who looked about 7. Minjun, this is Amara, Zara said warmly in English. She's from Nigeria. Been in Seoul for 3 years working at a restaurant in Itaewon. This is her son David. Amara looked at Minjun with tired eyes, but managed a small smile. David hid his face in his mother's shoulder. Amara doesn't have insurance, Zara explained. David needs surgery for a heart condition. Nothing immediately life-threatening, but without treatment, it'll get worse. The surgery costs 15 million won. About $12,000. Minjun felt his chest tighten. The National Health Insurance Euro doesn't cover foreign workers' dependents if they're here on certain visa types, Zara said quietly. Amara makes barely enough to send money home to her other children in Nigeria. She's been saving for 2 years. She has 3 million won saved. She needs 3 more years to afford David's surgery. By then, his condition will be much worse. Amara spoke in halting English. I work double shifts. Sleep 4 hours. Save everyone. But David, he gets tired easy now. Chest hurts. Doctor says heart is working too hard. She pulled out a worn notebook, opened it to show pages of meticulous calculations. Income, expenses, savings goals, medical costs tracked in Korean won, Nigerian naira, and US dollars. I optimize everything, Amara said, and Minjun felt the word like a physical blow. Cook all food at home. No new clothes. Walk everywhere to save bus money. I am very efficient with money. The notebook was sophisticated. She'd created her own financial models, tracking exchange rates, projecting timelines, calculating risk. It was exactly what Minjun did for corporations. But here, if the model failed, this woman didn't lose money. Her son lost his future, piece by piece. This is what I do, Minjun said quietly in English, looking at the notebook. Resource optimization. Efficiency models. I do this for companies. I learn from internet, Amara said proudly. Read articles about business management. Think if I use same principles, I can make money work better. But, her voice cracked. The numbers don't work. I do everything right, but the math is impossible. Minjun looked at David, this little boy who couldn't understand that he was someone's optimization problem, and felt something crack inside his chest. I could write you a check, Minjun said, already reaching for his wallet. Cover the surgery. Give you breathing room. Zara's hand caught his wrist, gentle but firm. That helps one child. What about the next mother who comes through this clinic? And the one after that? Minjun looked from Zara to Amara to the notebook in his hands. Then what should I do? Fix the system, Zara said softly. Not just for Amara and David. For everyone. Amara took her notebook back, her expression gentle now. You want to help? Really help? Figure out why someone like me has to choose between my son's health and feeding my other children. Fix that. Not just for me. For everyone who looks like me, who sounds like me, who came here hoping for better. Minjun left the clinic at noon and went straight home to his Gangnam apartment, but he couldn't sleep. He sat at his desk, laptop open, surrounding himself with research on medical access, immigrant healthcare, payment structures in South Korea. The systems he'd spent years exploiting suddenly looked different through Amara's eyes. At 2 a.m., he texted Zara, "Are you awake?" Her response came 5 minutes later, unfortunately. What's wrong? I need to talk. Can you come over? Minjun, it's 2 a.m. Please. OE. 30 minutes later, Zara stood in his apartment doorway, wearing sweatpants and a Howard University hoodie, looking exhausted and wary. This better be important. I'm acquiring MediFirst Korea. The words tumbled out fast in English, his accent thicker with emotion. They manage medical billing and debt collection for hospitals, including the ones that treat immigrant communities. Zara's expression hardened. So you can profit off Amara's suffering more efficiently? So I can restructure it. Minjun was pacing now, energized despite the lack of sleep. Create payment plans that actually work. Partner with international insurance companies. Set up funds for emergency cases like David's. Fix the system instead of exploiting it. He pulled up projections on his laptop, switching between Korean and English documents. Look, current model has high default rates because the plans are impossible. What if we create actually sustainable payment structures? Lower monthly amounts, longer terms, interest-free periods for emergency cases. Zara moved closer, studying the screen. Her natural hair was in a silk bonnet, her face bare of makeup. She looked young and beautiful and completely present. This would work, she said slowly in English. But you'd need someone who understands both Korean medical systems and international communities. Someone who knows what immigrants actually need. I need you. Minjun turned to face her. Not as decoration. As a partner. Help me build this. Zara's eyes searched his face. Why? Why do you suddenly care about any of this? Yesterday, you were destroying companies for profit. Today, you want to save immigrant children. The question deserved honesty. Minjun sat down heavily on his couch, and after a moment, Zara sat beside him, careful to maintain some distance. My younger brother, Minjun said quietly in English. Hyunwoo. He died when I was 21. He was 17. Leukemia. The words hurt to say, even after 13 years. My family had money, good insurance, the best hospitals, Minjun continued. But the treatment protocol wasn't covered. Experimental therapy that might have saved him. Insurance said no. We could have paid out of pocket, but my father's business was struggling. He chose the company over Hyunwoo's treatment. Zara's hand found his, squeezing gently. Hyunwoo died because my father made a business decision, Minjun said. Because the math didn't work. So I went into consulting thinking if I made companies more profitable, more efficient, no one would have to choose between business and family. I thought profit and saving lives were the same thing. They're not, Zara said softly. I know that now. Minjun looked at her, this woman who'd walked into his life and challenged everything he thought he knew. I've spent 13 years optimizing systems that kill people like Hyunwoo. Like David. I can't bring my brother back. But maybe I can build something that would have saved him. Zara was quiet for a long moment. When she spoke, her voice was thick with emotion. My little sister Kenya has sickle cell disease. She's 14. There's an experimental gene therapy trial in Germany that could change her life. Not cure her, but make the pain manageable. Make her life normal. Tears slipped down her cheeks. Every day I teach English to Korean students and volunteer at that clinic, Zara said. And I watch my baby sister suffer half a world away. Can't even afford to visit her most months. The $25,000 I took from you, it doesn't save Kenya. It just gives her a chance. One chance. Minjun understood then why she'd been so fierce, so uncompromising. This wasn't about money. It was about love and helplessness and the desperate need to do something when nothing could be done. Help me, Minjun said. Help me build something that might have saved Hyunwoo. That might help Kenya. Not a perfect solution, but something better than what exists. Zara wiped her eyes, then looked at the laptop screen again, at the models and projections. Okay, but we do this right. No PR stunts. No half measures. Real systemic change that helps people who look like me, people who sound like Amara, people the system ignores. Real change, Minjun agreed. They shook hands, but it felt like more than a business deal now. It felt like a promise between two people who'd both lost someone and were determined to make that loss mean something. The next 2 weeks blurred together. Minjun and Zara worked obsessively, his apartment transforming into a command center covered in whiteboards with notes in Korean and English, patient case files, financial projections in 3 currencies. They argued constantly, passionately, about payment structures and enrollment processes, and how to actually make ethical restructuring profitable in the Korean market. Zara brought in people from the clinic. Doctors, volunteer nurses, social workers from immigrant communities, people who understood the real problems. Minjun brought in financial analysts and legal consultants who understood Korean corporate law. Together, they built something that looked nothing like his original acquisition plan and everything like a genuine attempt to fix a broken system. Late one night, Zara fell asleep on his couch, surrounded by patient testimonials translated into English. Minjun found himself watching her, this fierce woman who'd somehow made him want to be better than he was. Her bonnet had slipped off, her natural curls spread across the pillow. She was beautiful in her vulnerability. He grabbed a blanket and covered her carefully. When she stirred, half awake, she smiled at him. E superscript 3 E section IOE, she murmured in Korean. Thank you. Thank you, Minjun replied in English. For not letting me stay the person I was. In the morning, they had coffee and went back to work, and Minjun noticed how their hands would brush when passing documents, how Zara's laugh had become something he looked forward to hearing, how the space between them felt charged with something neither of them was ready to name. His mother called one evening while they were working. Minjuna, when can I meet this American woman everyone is talking about? It's not like that. She's helping with a business project. Your aunt saw you at the gala. She says the woman looked at you like you hung the moon. And you looked at her the same way. That's no to Euro, we're just working together. His mother laughed. Bring her for dinner this weekend. I want to meet the woman who made my son care about something besides profit margins. Your father would have liked her. Minjun hung up, feeling the weight of his mother's words. His father, who'd chosen business over Hyunwoo, would have liked Zara because she represented what he'd failed to be, someone who chose humanity over profit. On the day of the investor presentation at MediFirst Korea headquarters, Minjun woke up feeling more nervous than he'd been in years. This mattered. Really mattered. Not just for his career, but for Amara and David and Hyunwoo's memory and every person trapped in systems designed to extract rather than heal. Zara met him at the building, dressed professionally in a blazer and dress, her hair in elegant braids. Ready? Terrified. Good. Means you care. She squeezed his hand. Let's go change some minds. The boardroom was full of skeptical faces. Korean executives who'd built careers on profit maximization. Minjun's lead investor, Kang Ji-won, sat at the head of the table with an expression that gave away nothing. Minjun and Zara presented together, moving seamlessly between Korean and English, between financial projections and human impact. Traditional debt collection has 43% payment compliance in immigrant communities, Minjun explained in Korean, clicking through slides. Our model project's 92% because we're creating sustainable plans people can actually afford. You're not just collecting debt, Zara added in English, which most executives understood. You're building loyalty. Patients who can pay become advocates. Communities trust you. This is long-term growth, not short-term extraction. And in Korea's changing demographics, with more foreign workers every year, this positions MediFirst as the leader in inclusive healthcare finance. They showed case studies, Amara's story, projections, testimonials from the pilot program participants. The room was interested but cautious. Then Kang spoke in Korean, his voice sharp. This is compelling, even admirable. But it's not what we hired you for, Minjun SSI. Minjun's stomach dropped. We hired you to maximize acquisition value in 90 days, Kang continued, still in Korean but speaking slowly so Zara could follow with her limited knowledge. This is a complete business model transformation. You're not optimizing MediFirst. You're rebuilding it from the ground up. With an American woman as your partner, no less. The mention of Zara's foreignness wasn't lost on anyone in the room. Several executives shifted uncomfortably. Because the current model has maybe 3 years before government crackdown destroys all value, Minjun argued in Korean, then repeated in English for Zara. Korea is internationalizing. The government is under pressure to improve immigrant rights. This model has 20-year sustainability as Korea's demographics change. Kang stood, gathering his materials. Every eye in the room followed him. Prove it, he said in English, clearly for Zara's benefit. 2 weeks. Full pilot program with measurable results. If it works, I'll back the complete restructuring. If it doesn't, he paused at the door. If it doesn't, you're out. I take over the acquisition. We do this the traditional way. Understand? Minjun's mouth went dry. His entire career, everything he'd built, balanced on 2 weeks. Copyright EE unspecified currency. I understand. Kang left. The room emptied. Minjun and Zara stood alone among the scattered presentation materials. I just bet everything on being a decent human being, Minjun said quietly in English. Zara took his hand. Welcome to how people like me live every day. They looked at each other, fear and determination mixing in equal measure. Then Zara's phone rang. Her face went white as she answered. Mom? What? No. No, when? Minjun watched her hands start shaking, watched all the color drain from her beautiful face. I'll be there. I'm booking a flight now. Tell Kenya I'm coming. Zara hung up and stood frozen, tears streaming down her face. What happened? Minjun asked, already knowing it was bad. Kenya. Zara's voice was barely a whisper. She had a crisis. They're life-flighting her to Atlanta. It's bad, Minjun, really bad. Everything stopped. The pilot program. The presentation. The 2 weeks that would determine Minjun's entire future. Zara, Minjun started. Don't. She held up a hand, already moving toward the door. Don't say anything. I have to go home. The pilot program launches in 48 hours. We need a euro. Zara whirled on him, and the look in her eyes made him step back. The words came out in English sharp with pain. You need? My baby sister is dying and you're talking about what you need. That's not what I meant, euro. This program could help thousands of people like Kenya, Zara said, crying now. I know that. I helped build it. But Kenya isn't people like Kenya. She's Kenya. She's my baby sister who still sleeps with the teddy bear I gave her. Who calls me crying because the pain is so bad. Who's scared of dying even though she tries to be brave. Her voice broke completely. You want to fix systems? Zara demanded. Start by understanding that sometimes the person you love matters more than a perfect 10-year plan. Sometimes the solution isn't statistics and models. Sometimes it's just being there when someone needs you. Minjun had no response. Nothing he could say would be right. I'll refund the money, Zara said, wiping her tears. The full 25,000. I didn't earn it. You earned it, Minjun said quietly. You changed everything. You changed me. Then use what I taught you. Zara grabbed her bag. Finish this without me. What if I can't? She paused at the door, not turning around. Then you fail. But at least you'll fail trying to do something that actually matters. I.e. Minjun. The door closed. Minjun stood in the empty boardroom, surrounded by projections and proposals and plans that suddenly felt completely meaningless compared to what Zara was facing. He pulled out his phone and booked a flight to Atlanta. Zara didn't respond to his texts that he was coming. She didn't respond to his calls. Minjun went anyway, landing at Hartsfield-Jackson Airport 16 hours later, exhausted and uncertain but determined. He found the Hospital Euro, Children's Healthcare of Atlanta Euro, and asked for Kenya Williams. The receptionist looked skeptical of this Korean man asking about a black patient, but eventually directed him to the pediatric intensive care unit. Zara sat in a waiting room that looked nothing like Korean hospitals, surrounded by her family. Her mother, a beautiful older woman with the same fierce eyes. Her father, tall and protective. Two younger brothers who looked at Minjun with undisguised suspicion. What are you doing here? Zara asked, standing up. Her eyes were red from crying, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, wearing sweatpants and that same Howard hoodie. I came to be here, Minjun said simply in English. You shouldn't face this alone. The pilot program Euro. I put Park Sang-woo in charge, Minjun said. The man from the gala. The one whose daughter I hurt when I destroyed Hanyang Medical. I'm bringing back everyone I destroyed, offering them equity, sharing power instead of hoarding it. Zara's family was watching this exchange with open curiosity and confusion. But your investors Euro, Zara protested. We'll do what they're going to do. Minjun took a step closer. You told me that sometimes being there for the person in front of you matters more than any plan. You were right. Kenya needs you. You need support. I'm here. Minjun, you don't have to Euro. I want to, he said firmly. You've spent 2 weeks keeping me grounded. Let me return the favor. Zara's mother stood up, approaching Minjun with the assessing gaze of a woman who'd raised 3 children and knew how to read people. You're the Korean businessman, she said. Not a question. Zara mentioned you on our calls. Said you were complicated. Yes, ma'am, Minjun said, instinctively respectful in a way that transcended culture. I'm Minjun Park. Zara and I are working together. I came to support her. Zara's mother studied him for another long moment, then her expression softened. You flew 16 hours to be here for my daughter? Yes, ma'am. She glanced at Zara, who was crying again, then back at Minjun. You can stay. But if you hurt her, you'll answer to me. I don't care how many companies you own in Korea. Yes, ma'am. He bowed slightly, a gesture that made Zara's brother snicker. Did you just bow to our mom? One of them asked. In Korea, it's a sign of respect, Zara explained, wiping her eyes. I like it, her mother declared. Y'all should try it sometime. The tension broke slightly. Zara's father shook Minjun's hand, firm but not crushing. Gerald Williams. Thank you for coming. Means a lot that Zara has people supporting her, even from halfway around the world. Can I meet Kenya? Minjun asked Zara softly. Zara looked at her mother, who nodded. 5 minutes. She's weak. Kenya's hospital room was full of monitors and medical equipment. She was tiny in the bed, her skin several shades darker than Zara's, her hair in braids, looking so young and fragile. But when Zara entered, Kenya's eyes opened and she smiled. You came, Kenya whispered. Of course I came, baby girl. Zara took her hand carefully, mindful of the 4 lines. I'll always come. Kenya's eyes moved to Minjun, curious despite her exhaustion. Who's he? This is Minjun. He's a friend. From Seoul? The rich guy you're fake dating? Kenya's voice was weak but teasing. Zara tells me everything. Minjun felt his face heat. Not exactly fake anymore, he admitted. Kenya studied him with an intensity that reminded him of Zara. You better be good to my sister. She's the best person I know. I'm learning that, Minjun said sincerely. And Kenya, the work your sister and I are doing? We're setting up a program to help kids like you. Better payment plans for families. Access to treatments. It's because of you. Kenya's eyes filled with tears. Really? Really? You're changing the system just by being brave enough to fight. I don't feel brave, Kenya whispered. I'm scared all the time. Being brave doesn't mean you're not scared, Zara said, squeezing her hand gently. It means you keep fighting even when you are. You're the bravest person I know. Kenya smiled, then her eyes drifted closed. Within seconds, she was asleep, exhausted from even that brief conversation. Outside the room, Zara collapsed against the wall, and Minjun caught her, holding her as she sobbed into his chest. Her family gave them space, understanding that sometimes grief needed privacy. She's so small, Zara cried. She's just a baby, Minjun. This isn't fair. None of this is fair. No, it's not, Minjun agreed, holding her tighter. But she has you. She has your family. She has doctors fighting for her. And she's strong, Zara. I can see it. She has your strength. They stood in that hospital hallway for a long time, Minjun holding Zara while she cried out weeks of stress and fear and exhaustion. Hospital staff walked past, some glancing curiously at the Korean man and black woman, but mostly they were invisible in the way that grief makes people. Eventually, Zara pulled back, wiping her eyes. You should go back to Seoul. The pilot program Euro. Can wait. You can't. Minjun cupped her face gently. Zara, I know we started as a business arrangement. But somewhere along the way, this became real for me. You became real for me. I'm not leaving you to face this alone. Minjun. I'm staying as long as you need me. A week, a month, however long. Korea will still be there. The program will still be there. But you need me now, and that's what matters. Fresh tears spilled down Zara's cheeks. I can't ask you to do that. You're not asking. I'm choosing. There's a difference. Minjun smiled softly. You taught me that people matter more than plans. Let me prove I learned the lesson. Zara's mother appeared in the hallway. Zara, baby, why don't you take your friend to get some food? You haven't eaten all day. We'll watch Kenya. Mom, I can't leave you, Euro. You can and you will. Kenya's stable right now. You need to eat, you need to breathe, and you need to take care of yourself so you can take care of her. Go. Her mother's voice softened. We'll call if anything changes. I promise. Reluctantly, Zara agreed. Minjun drove them to a soul food restaurant Zara directed him to, and she laughed through her tears when he struggled to pronounce collard greens and had no idea what grits were. You're so out of your element, she said, some of the tension leaving her shoulders. Completely, Minjun admitted. But I'm learning. Teach me. So Zara taught him about American Southern food, about Black culture and history he'd never learned in his international schools. She told him about growing up in Atlanta, about being the oldest sister and feeling responsible for everyone, about the guilt of being healthy while Kenya suffered. Minjun listened and shared his own stories. Growing up as a chaebol heir with pressure to be perfect. Losing Hyunwoo and feeling like he'd failed as an older brother. The loneliness of being powerful but empty. We're more alike than different, Zara said quietly, picking at her fried chicken. Both trying to save siblings we couldn't save. Both carrying guilt that isn't ours to carry. Maybe we can help each other let go, Minjun suggested. Maybe, Zara agreed, and their hands found each other across the table. Over the next week, Minjun stayed. He rented an apartment near the hospital, worked remotely when he could, and spent every possible moment supporting Zara and her family. He learned to navigate Atlanta's sprawl, discovered the beauty of Stone Mountain at sunset, and slowly won over Zara's brothers with his genuine humility and willingness to be taught. Kenya's condition stabilized, then slowly improved. The crisis passed, though the underlying disease remained. Minjun made calls, researched the German treatment Zara had mentioned, and quietly set up consultations with specialists without telling her. On the 8th day, Zara's mother pulled Minjun aside. "You love my daughter." It wasn't a question, but Minjun answered anyway. "Yes, ma'am. I do." "Does she know?" "I don't know. Maybe. We haven't talked about it." Zara's mother smiled. "She loves you too. I can tell. The way she looks at you when you're not paying attention. The way she relaxes when you're around. That girl hasn't relaxed in years." "I want to take care of her," Minjun said. "Not because she can't take care of herself, but because she shouldn't have to do it alone anymore." "Good answer." Zara's mother patted his cheek affectionately. "You're good for her, Minjun. Don't let the cultural differences scare you. Love is love, no matter where you're from." "Yes, ma'am. E-degree II, copyright EE unspecified currency." "Thank you." That evening, Kenya was awake and feeling better. The whole family gathered in her room, laughing and talking, the relief palpable. Minjun stayed in the background, not wanting to intrude on family time, but Kenya called him over. "Minjun Appa," she said, using the Korean term for older brother that Zara had taught her. "Come here." He approached the bed, and Kenya took his hand and Zara's hand, placing them together. "You two are being ridiculous. Just admit you're in love already, so we can all stop pretending we don't see it." The room went silent. Zara's face flushed. Minjun felt his own face heating. "Kenya." Zara protested. "What?" "I'm sick, not blind." Kenya looked at Minjun seriously. "You flew 16 hours to be here. You've been sleeping on a couch in a tiny apartment and eating food you can't pronounce." "That's love, Appa." "Kenya Euro," Minjun started. "And Zara, you smile every time you look at him. You check your phone constantly to see if he's texted. You talk about him in your sleep. That's love, Yuni." Zara's brothers were grinning. Her parents were trying not to laugh. The hospital room felt very small suddenly. "She's right," Minjun said quietly, deciding honesty was the only option. He looked at Zara, his heart pounding. "Kenya's right. I love you, Zara. I think I started falling for you when you refused to lie for me at that first gala. When you chose truth over money. When you showed me what real strength looks like." Zara's eyes filled with tears. "Minjun, I know this is complicated," he continued. "Different countries, different cultures, different worlds. But I don't care. I want to be with you. I want to build this program together and change the system together and figure out how to make this work together. If you want that too." The room held its collective breath. Zara looked at her family, then back at Minjun. "You really flew 16 hours just to be here for me?" "I would fly 100 hours. 1,000. However many it takes. You're willing to share power with the people you hurt? To actually change. Because of you. You taught me how. And you're okay with dating a black woman? With all the stares and comments and challenges that will come in Korea. I'm okay with loving you," Minjun said simply. "Everything else, we'll figure out together." Zara crossed the room and kissed him. Her family erupted in cheers and applause, with Kenya declaring, finally, loud enough that nurses came to check if everything was okay. When they finally pulled apart, both of them were crying and laughing. "I love you too," Zara whispered. "I was so scared to admit it. Scared it was just the situation or the arrangement or something temporary. But Minjun, you've shown me who you really are. And I love that person. Even though I'm terrible at understanding American culture, especially because you're willing to learn." Zara kissed him again, softer this time. "We're going to be quite the pair in Seoul." "We already are," Minjun said. Kenya's doctor arrived then, interrupting the celebration with news. The crisis had stabilized, and Kenya could potentially go home in a few days. But there was more. I've been in contact with colleagues in Germany, the doctor said, about the gene therapy trial. Given Kenya's recent crisis and her response to treatment, she might qualify for emergency enrollment. If you can get her there within the month. Zara went very still. We can't afford €1. It's covered, Minjun said quietly. I set up consultations last week. Made some calls. Used connections from my international business school network. Kenya's already pre-approved if the Atlanta medical records check out. Silence fell over the room. You did what? Zara asked, her voice barely a whisper. I couldn't save my brother, Minjun said, his voice thick with emotion. But maybe I can help save yours. It's not charity, Zara. It's family. And you're my family now. Zara burst into tears. Her mother was crying. Even her father looked emotional. Kenya was grinning despite the tubes and monitors. So, we're really going to Germany? Kenya asked. If you want to, Zara said through her tears. I want to. And I want Minjun Appa to come visit us there. Someone needs to teach him about American culture, and he's clearly a slow learner. Everyone laughed, the hospital room full of joy and hope and the promise of a future that had seemed impossible just weeks ago. 2 weeks later, Kenya was stable enough to travel. Minjun flew back to Seoul to handle the pilot program launch, but he video called Zara every day, staying connected across the time zones and distance. The pilot program launched successfully under Park Sang-woo's leadership. Minjun had restructured everything, giving equity to the people he'd once destroyed, sharing power instead of hoarding it. The results exceeded projections. Amara's son David got his surgery. Dozens of other immigrant families got the help they needed. Kong Ji-won approved the full restructuring, impressed despite his initial skepticism. You did it, Minjun SSI. You proved that ethical business can be profitable. And you did it with an American woman as your partner. Korea is changing. Maybe this is what that change looks like. Minjun thought about Zara and Kenya in Germany, about the program helping families like Amara's, about his mother who'd said his father would have liked Zara. Unspecified currency. Yes, this is exactly what change looks like. 3 months later, Minjun stood in the arrivals area of Incheon International Airport, holding a sign that said "Welcome Home" in both Korean and English. He'd been a nervous wreck all day, checking his phone constantly, making sure her apartment was ready, that he'd stocked the fridge with her favorite foods. When Zara finally emerged through customs, she broke into a run. Minjun caught her, spinning her around, both of them laughing and crying. You came back, he said unnecessarily. Of course I came back. You're here. Our program is here. Our future is here. Zara kissed him thoroughly, not caring about the stares from other travelers. Kenya's doing amazing, by the way. The treatment is working. She made me promise to bring you to Germany next month so she can show you around. I'll be there, Minjun promised. Zara, I have something to tell you. The program is expanding to 5 more Korean cities. And we got interest from Japanese hospitals. This is becoming bigger than we imagined. We're changing the system, Zara said wonderingly. Actually changing it. Together, Minjun corrected. Always together. They drove to Seoul together, and Minjun took her straight to his mother's house. His mother embraced Zara like a daughter, switching between Korean and English, asking about Kenya, about Germany, about everything. Over dinner, with traditional Korean food that Zara was learning to love, his mother told stories about Hyunwoo, about the son she'd lost, and how proud she was that Minjun had turned that loss into something meaningful. Your father made the wrong choice, Minjun's mother said to him in Korean, which Zara was understanding more of now. He chose business over family. You chose both. You found a way to make business serve family, serve humanity. That's the son I raised. That's the man your father could have been. Minjun felt tears on his cheeks. Zara squeezed his hand under the table. He said. I want to marry Zara. I know it's fast. I know there will be challenges. But I've never been more certain of anything. His mother smiled. Then marry her. Make it official. Give me grandchildren who will be beautiful and strong and will change this world the way you two are changing it. Zara's eyes went wide. Did you just propose? Not officially, Minjun laughed. I have a ring picked out and a proper plan. But yes, eventually, if you'll have me. Eventually sounds perfect, Zara said, kissing him while his mother pretended to be scandalized but was clearly delighted. 6 months after Kenya's treatment began, the program had expanded to 12 hospitals across Korea and 3 in Japan. Park Sang-woo was CEO, running operations while Minjun and Zara focused on program development and international expansion. Amara had become a paid consultant, helping design outreach to immigrant communities. Mrs. Parkayuro, the woman from the gala whose daughter had lost her Jobayuro, now ran the patient advocacy division. Minjun and Zara split their time between Seoul and Atlanta, building their life across 2 continents. It wasn't always easy. There were stares in Seoul, comments about her being foreign, about their relationship being unusual. But there was also support from his mother, from the immigrant communities they served, from young Koreans who saw their relationship as a sign of Korea's future. Zara learned Korean, slowly but steadily. Minjun learned to cook collard greens and mac and cheese. They taught each other's cultures to each other, building a shared world that honored both. Kenya's treatment was successful. Not a cure, but management. She could live a relatively normal life now, the pain controlled, the crises less frequent. She started a YouTube channel documenting her journey, inspiring other kids with chronic illnesses. Minjun appeared in several videos, teaching Korean phrases and talking about the program, and the comments were overwhelmingly positive. 1 year after they met, Minjun proposed properly. On the rooftop of his Seoul apartment building, with the city lights spread beneath them and both their families watching via video call. Zara said yes before he even finished asking, and they kissed as fireworks exploded in the Distancia Euro, someone else's celebration that felt like it was meant for them. The wedding was 6 months later, a fusion of Korean and American traditions that perfectly represented their relationship. Traditional Korean ceremony in the morning with hanbok and bowing. American-style reception in the evening with soul food and K-pop, R&B, and traditional Korean music, guests from both countries mingling and celebrating. Kenya was the maid of honor, healthy and glowing. Park Sang-woo gave a speech about redemption and second chances. Amara attended with David, who was thriving after his surgery. Minjun's mother cried tears of joy. Zara's parents embraced Minjun as a son. We did it, Zara whispered during their first dance, a blend of American slow dance and traditional Korean wedding dance that made everyone laugh and cheer. We're still doing it, Minjun corrected. This is just the beginning. 2 years after the wedding, they stood together in front of the Korean National Assembly, testifying about medical debt reform. The program had expanded nationwide, helping thousands of families. The government was considering legislation based on their model. It was everything they dreamed of and more. After the testimony, they walked along the Han River, holding hands, watching the sunset paint the water gold. Remember when we met? Zara asked. When you handed me that check and I thought you were just another rich guy trying to buy his way out of consequences? I was, Minjun admitted. But you wouldn't let me stay that person. We saved each other, Zara said. You gave me the resources to help Kenya. I gave you the purpose to honor Hyunwoo. We turned our pain into something beautiful. The most beautiful thing, Minjun agreed, pulling her close. Our life. Our work. Our love. They kissed as the sun set over Seoul, 2 people from different worlds who'd built a bridge between them strong enough to change an entire system. Behind them, their phones buzzed with messages. Park Sang-woo reporting that 3 more hospitals had signed on. Amara sharing that her daughter in Nigeria was coming to Korea for medical school. Kenya texting photos from her college orientation at Howard University, living the life she'd almost lost. The work continued. The system kept changing. And Minjun and Zara kept building their impossible, beautiful, transformative love story one patient, one policy, one moment of human dignity at a time. 5 years later, they stood in the same Seoul hospital where they'd first met Amara and David, but now it looked completely different. The newly renovated immigrant health center bore both their names in Korean and English. Amara worked there full-time as the community liaison. David, now 12, volunteered after school, translating for Korean doctors and Nigerian patients. Minjun and Zara had become advocates on the international stage, speaking at conferences, consulting with governments, building models that other countries were adopting. Their program had helped over 50,000 families across Asia. The model was being studied for implementation in the United States. But today was special for a different reason. Minjun held his 3-month-old daughter, Jihai Grace Park, while Zara finalized paperwork at the health center. Their daughter had her mother's beautiful dark skin and her father's Korean features, a perfect blend of both worlds. She was curious and alert, taking in everything with wide eyes. "She's going to change the world," Amara said, gently touching Jihai's tiny hand. "Just like her parents." "She's going to have the choice to change the world," Zara corrected, joining them. "That's what we're building. A world where kids like her, like David, like Kenya, don't have to fight systems that are designed to fail them. Where they can just be kids and grow into whoever they're meant to be." Kenya sent photos from her internship, Minjun said, showing his phone. Kenya was working at the CDC in Atlanta, studying public health, on track to become a doctor. "She says she wants to come to Seoul next summer. Bring her boyfriend to meet us." "A boyfriend?" Zara laughed. "When did she grow up?" "When we gave her the chance to," Minjun said softly. They walked out of the health center together, their daughter sleeping peacefully between them, and Seoul stretched out before them. Euro, still challenging, still complicated, but undeniably better than it had been 5 years ago. "Do you ever regret it?" Zara asked as they walked. "Giving up the power, the control, the traditional success?" "Never," Minjun said immediately. "I have you. I have Jihai. I have work that matters and people I've helped instead of hurt. I have a life I'm proud of. That's worth more than any amount of power." "Good answer," Zara said, kissing his cheek. "Because we have another expansion proposal to review tonight. Singapore is interested in the model." "Singapore?" Minjun's eyes lit up. "That's huge." "I know. We're going to need to hire more staff. Maybe open a regional office." They talked strategy and possibilities as they walked, their daughter sleeping soundly, unaware that her parents were building her a better world, one conversation, one policy, one act of love at a time. A street vendor called out to them in Korean, then switched to English when she saw Zara. They bought tteokbokki, sitting on a bench by the river, feeding each other the spicy rice cakes while Jihai slept, living their beautifully ordinary, extraordinary life. "Thank you," Minjun said suddenly. "For what?" "For walking into my office that day. For refusing to lie. For challenging me. For loving me. For building this life with me." He switched to English, wanting her to understand every word. "You saved me, Zara. From becoming someone I would have hated. From a life that looked successful but was completely empty." "We saved each other," Zara corrected, leaning her head on his shoulder. "That's what love does. It saves us from ourselves and shows us who we could be if we're brave enough to try." As the sun set over Seoul, painting the Han River in shades of gold and pink, Minjun Park and Zara Williams Park sat with their daughter, surrounded by the life they'd built from a simple transaction that became an extraordinary love story. And in hospital rooms across Korea, in immigrant communities finding hope, in families accessing treatment they never thought possible, in systems being restructured to serve instead of exploit, their impact rippled outward. Euro. Proof that two people choosing love over profit, humanity over efficiency, and each other over everything could actually change the world. The story of their arrangement that became so much more continued to unfold, one beautiful day at a time. If you've made it to the end of Minjun and Zara's journey, thank you for being here. Their story shows us that love transcends borders, that change is possible when we choose humanity over profit, and that the most beautiful transformations often begin with a single choice to be better. If this Afro-Korean love story touched your heart, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories about love, redemption, and the power of choosing each other across cultural divides. Drop a comment below telling us your favorite momento Euro. Was it Minjun flying to Atlanta? Zara's fierce honesty at the gala? Kenya's recovery? Or maybe the beautiful fusion wedding? Share your thoughts and let's celebrate love stories that break boundaries and build bridges. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss our next story. And remember, real love isn't about where you're from Euro. It's about choosing each other every single day and building something beautiful together. Thank you for watching. E degree II, copyright EE unspecified currency. Until next time.